We are embarking on a truly massive journey today. I'm talking about going all the way from the earliest geometric diagrams etched in sand to the first primitive telescopes pointed at the stars. We're going to map out exactly how humanity got from knowing almost nothing about the universe to unlocking the mind-bending mysteries of space, time, and atomic energy.
Okay, let's dive into this. I want you to imagine human knowledge like a stone dropped perfectly into a still pond. That very first splash, it creates a tight, small circle of understanding. But as time goes on, every single scientist, every philosopher, every brilliant mind comes along and pushes that boundary further outward. They create a brand new concentric circle, one that's larger than the one before it. And the bigger the breakthrough, the larger the gap between the old circle and the new one.
So, here is our blueprint of the concentric circles we're about to travel through. We'll start with drawing the first circle in ancient times, move to the middle rings, hit the scientific revolution, explore the Enlightenment and reason, and finally we'll end by shattering the outer limits, from ancient Greece all the way to modern quantum physics.
All right, let's jump right into the tight center of human history. Part 1. Drawing the first circle, the ancient period.
Now, what's really interesting about this is the raw speed of human thought. I mean, it's genuinely astonishing. Around 624 BC, Thales of Miletus drops the very first stone. He tries to explain the natural world without relying on mythology, which earns him the title of the first natural philosopher. Then, almost immediately, Pythagoras pushes the boundary outward. He merges mathematics and philosophy and actually brings us the foundations of music theory along the way. Next up, Heraclitus expands the circle yet again, introducing a philosophy based on constant change and logos. By the time we hit 460 BC, the leap is massive. Democritus is literally out there conceptualizing an atomic theory of the universe, arguing that everything is made of indivisible, invisible particles. In just a couple of centuries, our circle expands from basic naturalism to a foundational blueprint for modern physics. Just incredible.
Building on that atomic momentum, we get a rapid-fire succession of foundational polymaths and mathematicians who absolutely solidify this first major boundary. Socrates pushes the circle inward to really examine human ethics and logic. His student, Plato, expands it by founding the academy, basically creating the template for all Western universities. Then comes Aristotle, who lays down the rigorous foundations for scientific classification. And we definitely cannot forget the mathematicians, who stretch this boundary to its physical limits. You've got Euclid, whose geometry you probably learned in high school, and Archimedes. Together, these minds formed a robust, solid ring of understanding that we literally still rely on to build bridges and write code today.
Moving on to Part 2. The middle rings, bridging the knowledge.
Now we get to an era defined by brilliant Islamic thinkers who acted as crucial links in our chain of expanding circles. Take Avicenna, or Ibn Sina. He was a powerhouse philosopher and physician who pushed the rings significantly outward. His medical encyclopedia, The Canon of Medicine, was so comprehensive that it remained the standard medical textbook in Europe for over 600 years. Then we have Averroes, or Ibn Rushd, who is deeply renowned for his extensive commentaries on Aristotle. The key takeaway here is that they didn't just preserve the ancient Greek circle, they built directly upon it. They dramatically expanded the frontiers into realms of medicine and advanced philosophy, perfectly setting the stage for the modern world.
Which leads us to a massive turning point. Part 3. The Scientific Revolution, Method and Observation.
And this brilliantly illustrates a huge shift in how humans systematically gathered knowledge. Before this era, our circles expanded primarily through pure thought and deductive logic. But then Francis Bacon comes along and aggressively promotes a brand new system, the scientific method. He argues, hey, we need rules, we need experimentation, and we need proof. Galileo Galilei then takes that new methodology and pairs it with literal observation. By pioneering modern observational astronomy with his telescope, Galileo ensures that looking directly at the universe and measuring it rigorously became the new, mandatory standard for pushing our circle outward.
Next up is Part 4, Enlightenment and Reason, Expanding the Mind. Let's look at the philosophical explosion that defined the early modern era.
During this time, the frontier of knowledge splits into two distinct, fiercely debated directions. On one side, we cleanly see the rationalists, like René Descartes and Baruch Spinoza. They relied heavily on analytical geometry and argued that the circle of knowledge expands primarily through reason, logic, and the intellect itself. Contesting them directly were the empiricists, led by figures like John Locke and David Hume. They focused heavily on empirical observation, arguing that knowledge only expands through sensory experience and direct observation of the physical world.
This brilliant philosophical tension between rationalism and empiricism stretched our intellectual boundaries wider than ever before.
But then, a monumental disruption happens. Enter Isaac Newton. Newton's contribution to our concentric circles is just staggering. By developing calculus and formulating the laws of classical mechanics, Newton single-handedly created what was arguably the largest gap between knowledge circles in human history up to that point. I mean, the sheer magnitude of the jump from the knowledge available before Newton to the heavily mathematical, predictable, gravity-bound universe after him is awe-inspiring. He didn't just expand the circle, he redefined the entire pond.
And alongside Newton's physics, philosophical boundaries were shattering simultaneously. The expansion was happening on absolutely all fronts. Thomas Hobbes and Blaise Pascal were pushing boundaries in political philosophy and material realities, while Gottfried Leibniz was busy co-inventing calculus right alongside Newton. At the exact same time, Immanuel Kant and G.W.F. Hegel defined modern epistemology, pushing the absolute limits of human ethics and idealism. They weren't just operating in silos, they were collectively forcing the entire boundary of human reason outward in a synchronized wave.
As we push into the 19th century, this expansion branches into entirely new disciplines, completely altering our understanding of life and society. Charles Darwin expanded our biological concentric circles by introducing the framework of natural selection. Karl Marx pushed the boundaries as a philosopher and social scientist, altering the frameworks used for analyzing society, class, and economics. Meanwhile, Friedrich Nietzsche provided an intense existential critique, stretching the philosophical circle into deep examinations of meaning and human existence. Each of these thinkers systematically claimed entirely new, unprecedented territory for human analysis.
Let's move to and see how this builds as we enter an era that fundamentally breaks classical understanding. Part 5, Shattering the Outer Limits, the 20th Century.
Here, we trace a timeline of absolute titans. The massive, rigid, classical circles we spent thousands of years building, they get fundamentally broken apart. Nikola Tesla pushes the outer rings through groundbreaking physical inventions and electrical engineering. Bertrand Russell rigorously defines the absolute limits of logic and analytic philosophy. And then Albert Einstein arrives. As a theoretical physicist, Einstein takes that massive circle built by Isaac Newton, bends it, warps it with relativity, and forever alters our universe-altering theoretical understanding of space, time, and gravity. The outer limit of human knowledge is moving at lightning speed now.
So the crucial point is, this brings us to Niels Bohr. Bohr was a quantum physicist who pushed human knowledge into the deeply unpredictable probabilistic quantum realm. Just think about how far we've traveled. We started with Thales looking at water and basic naturalism, and we've expanded outwards, circle by circle, era by era, until Niels Bohr pushes us into an atomic reality that defies simple observation. This represents our current, vast, mind-bending outer boundary of human knowledge. It's so far removed from where we started.
Every single generation thought they had reached the edge, only to be pushed farther by the next brilliant mind. With the massive, rippling pond of human achievement stretching out behind us, and the deeply mysterious quantum realm sitting right at our current borders, where do you think the next circle ends?